I told you I am from Riviera Beach by way of the muck.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to do, the muck is Belle Glade.
Okay,
it's Belle Glade, it's Pahokee.
Don't know that.
You know, there are those cities in the Glades.
Sure.
So I actually have a tour coming up in Belle Glade.
Okay.
But it's a business related. And I'm really excited because I really haven't, while I go and visit Belle Glade, and I think it's important for people to understand how resourceful or how much business happens in Belle Glade. I mean, you can't go to a shelf anywhere in the world without seeing a product on the shelf that's sugar or something that was produced right there in Belle Glade.
It's true.
And a lot of people grow up in Belle Glade, and though they work in the fields or they may work at the mill, they don't really understand the impact that Belle Glade has.
I'm Dr. George Lockhart, and welcome to Leadership Unlocked. Here, we find trailblazers. We go into the universe and we follow the Stardust Trail till we find all the rainbow that ends in a pot of gold. Today, I have a special guest, a good friend of mine. She is superior. The estimable is the word I like to use. You know, the universe sometimes every 10 million years will shoot out something called a galaxy, about every 10 million. About every 30 million years, they'll shoot out something called a supernova or novae. Today, I have a supernova. And I'm proud to have on this show today, Miss Tarra Moten. How you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I have to remind my family of that.
So you and I go way back.
We do.
And but before we get started and on your fantastic career and what's going, some of the things that you're doing in the world, I want to know a little bit about you. So you're born and raised where?
Born and raised in Palm Beach County. Grew up in Riviera Beach, but I always like to say by way of the muck.
Okay.
So from the raw, by way of the muck.
Yeah,
My family is from Belle Glade.
I did know that. Know that. Yeah. So what high school did you attend?
I attended Suncoast High School.
You're a Charger.
I'm a Charger.
Okay. All right. Right. So you go to Suncoast, you graduate from there. Right. Now, did you work, because you worked for your mother, and we'll get to that, but in high school, did you work for, particularly for your mother, or did you do other jobs?
I did. I worked for my mother from the time I was probably, 10 or 12 years old. My mother has owned businesses, so I've always worked for her.
So the cash register, the old one, the one that used to hit that had the bell on it that will open up and...
No, I'm not that old. Yeah. So we're talking about what? That must have been like the 80s.
Yep. Yeah. So there, so when you finished that Suncoast, then you went where?
I attended the illustrious Tuskegee University.
Tuskegee University. Yes. That's very important, because you and I both are alumnus of Tuskegee.
We're Golden Tigers.
The Golden Tigers. That's right. And a lot of people don't realize that the different tigers, there is such a thing called a Golden Tiger. I would have to tell people that after we beat them in the competition when we played them in ball. They didn't understand that difference. So when you go to Tuskegee, what did you major in?
I was a finance major. So business was very important.
Shambliss Business House.
Shambliss Business House.
Yeah. Now, once you finish there, then you go where?
I come back home.
Okay.
And I continue to work in the family business.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into that. So now you work for your mother, and tell us exactly what did she do?
Okay. So I think it's important that you know that I come from a very entrepreneurial family. So we've been in business on different levels for generations. My grandfather and his brother, my uncle, they operated a tobacco farm in Georgia, Jacksonville, Georgia. So I spent a lot of time there. And then my uncle was a farm labor worker. So we traveled across the country. I do it occasionally, but my family did. And so, picking fruits and vegetables across the country. And in Belle Glade, my aunt, Dolly, operated a restaurant called Jones's Cafe.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So that really influenced my decision when it came to entrepreneurship and shaped the entrepreneur that I am today.
All right. So when you were a Tuskegee finance major, and again, I graduated from Tuskegee in accounting and finance, double major there. When you went to go get recruited, you said, no, I'm going back home to be an entrepreneur, or what changed your mind?
Honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time in a placement center.
Okay.
I came home, worked in the business each summer.
Oh, yeah.
Or I was traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling has always been a very important part of the things that I do. Mm-hmm. And so, I just kind of bypassed that process, understanding that I wanted to come into the family business and scale it.
All right. So for those of us in West Palm Beach who know you and your family, they're working in the airport, right?
Sure.
How difficult was that as a woman of color to either get that job, to maintain it? That's a story by itself.
It is a story by itself. But my mom operated a grocery store in Riviera Beach for a number of years before we went into the airport concessions business. So similar systems that she was able to carry into the business at the airport. It was a competitively bid process. She had a partner at the time. They were the successful bidders, and they operate that business, I think, from 1984 for several years. We have ventured out and done other businesses in the airport as well. But it was challenging. However, because of a federally mandated program, they had to include minorities.
What, if they had to do minorities, was that the 10% program that they had to be involved in?
Not necessarily a 10% program. The ownership was higher than 10%. So I think there was some type of study that was done to determine what percentage it would be. In various markets, that percentage can be as high as 40%. In a market like Atlanta, it is 40, 50% in some instances. Mm-hmm. And there are some smaller markets where you'll see 10%, 20%. But at the time we were operating 25%, but independently, not, in the absence of a prime, just responsible for the entire operation. So that means that we were responsible for procurement, payroll, everything. So that gave us a wonderful experience, but it's similar to what we did in Riviera Beach at our grocery store right there on 31st Street.
All right. Yeah,
have you been there? Tarra Grocery.
Yeah. But I remember your mother working in the post office.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
My mom worked for the post office for many years.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, she was also acquiring real estate businesses. Mm-hmm. She purchased a grocery store. So I also was responsible for working with her when tenants would move in and out, preparing the apartments. And that was just awful. It was awful.
What's so bad about it?
But I mean, some of those tenants weren't very neat and clean. Let's just say that. But it really gave me a tremendous work ethic. Mm-hmm. So watching my mother work really hard in every career of her life, which she's had many careers. So she's always been able to elevate herself, starting out as a farm labor worker in Belle Glade and traveling the country with our family, to working at the post office or owning the grocery store and the apartments and everything. And then obviously, we operate the airport concessions across the country today.
So 16 years old, 18 years old, 20 years old, you see your mother come in and you have employees come in, people maybe your age or older or whatever. Did you ever have to wield that sword where you had to say, I got to let you go?
Oh, absolutely.
So tell me about that experience.
Sure. Well, it's a process, right? So people don't always do what they get paid to do. And some people are slackers. So we have to handle it accordingly. And I think that not as often when we were a smaller operation, because I think that my mom was, or I know that she was able to create this culture of excitement. And everyone enjoyed. There were some of my friends from high school that would come and work at the store. It was their job in high school, pay for gas or, to whatever, tennis shoes or whatever we wanted. So it didn't happen a lot. We had a lot of long-term employees who we still are. They're like our family today. Sure.
Great. So in that particular instance, you formulate yourself into the woman that you are. I'm sure you came up with some type of philosophy, that you would share with other people in business, that's starting up businesses like that. So tell me about that, because people who are listening today want to know, wait a minute, I want to be just like her. But you have to have a framework. You have to build up something. So tell me about your philosophy.
Well,
Explain it to me like I'm a first grader.
It's a little old school.
Okay.
And it's a little different now with all this technology. I mean, they have access to Gemini, ChatGPT, and, I guess even what Google is a little ancient these days compared to these other tools that are available. Mm-hmm. But it was really old school, just really hard work, sacrifice, and a commitment to excellence and making sure that we did honor our commitments and had an outstanding reputation, which has really helped us. When we did scale the business and go into Atlanta doing the Olympics, it made all the difference. It really changed the trajectory for our family and for the business because we were able to come back to Florida and scale the business into other cities in Florida and then other states in the country. So I think the commitment to excellence is very, very important.
So that's right. And I want to say sustaining operational excellence. You talked about your philosophy.
Sure.
How in the world do you sustain that? You're in Miami, you're in Atlanta, you're in New York, you're in New Jersey. How in the world do you sustain that operational excellence?
I think it's very important to identify tremendous talent. Maybe they aren't where they need to be when you meet them, but if you can inspire them, encourage them to take it to the next level and be a wonderful example, and that helps to create that culture. It's exciting. My team is always excited when we get new contracts. We're able to open new stores and we're exceeding our expectations. We have these sales goals that we exceed for whatever reason. And because we're ready, we're prepared when those delays happen. So everyone's really excited. Wow, we hit a milestone today. Mm-hmm. We have generated more revenue than we've ever in one day. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting. Yeah. And so I think it's important to identify the right talent first and empower them and give them the training and make sure they have a great skill set that's also transferable. While we love, and most of our employees, as I mentioned before, they stay with us for a long time. They're like family, literally. But we want them to be able to go out into the world and operate on the same level of excellence and make a difference and really help to elevate their own families. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of.
Okay. So you said something important. You said you identify your employees, family. I like that term you used. They're part of a family. Talent.
Sure.
Skill set. And then you train them. So tell me about the Moten School of Business.
The Moten School of Business.
So how do you go about training them? Yeah, I like to hear this.
Well, you know what? There's nothing new under the sun, right? We're not the first to do it. Mm-hmm. We're fortunate that we have some amazing partners and we partner with some amazing brands, which they also provide training.
Okay.
But I think it's a mindset. Mm-hmm. It's a mindset of excellence. And I can't say enough about the ability to create a culture so that everyone gets excited about what's happening. When we're doing well, everybody's doing well.
Right. Okay. That's good. So how do you stay grounded? Look at you. You look glistening with just confidence.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
You have all of the brilliance of a diamond. But how do you stay grounded?
It's faith.
Okay.
It's faith. Like anyone, I'm human. I make mistakes. Satan doesn't think I'm special at all.
That's right. Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, he comes. He's not happy sometimes in the progress, but it's my faith and my commitment to making sure that I carry my faith with me everywhere that I go.
Well, I think that's important. And those are people who do not have faith. They don't understand it, right?
Sure.
Can you give someone your faith or teach them how to have faith?
I think you can lead by example.
Yes, exactly.
Prayer is a very important part of our family. But also, it's the legacy. Mm-hmm. I stand on the shoulders or I'm the answered prayers of my grandfather, my grandmother. So that's important to me. So I, lean on that. I remember kneeling down by the bedside with my grandmother growing up for years and years and years and praying. And that is what I do today with my kids, with my husband, with my mother. So we're a family that believes in prayer.
Very good. Let's talk about something that's dear to my heart involving you. I'm the principal at Roosevelt Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back 15 years here.
Yeah.
And I'm just having these young ladies just having a fit. They're fighting. They're doing everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were at another school. And I call you up and I say, listen, I need this girls to women.
Girls to women.
Yes, program.
Yes.
I said, I need this. You were at another school. You say, listen, I'm maxed out. I said, look, you got to get over here. I need your help right away. You know, because I was pushing the school up to an A-rated school because they were saying that Title I schools, minority schools, they couldn't get an A. Well, no, not true, you know. So, but I needed help. So I called you, you come over and you take them over. Tell me what happened because they came back just totally changed. You know, I know one young lady came into my office with tears running down her face.
Oh.
And I said, what's wrong? She said, I want to fight this girl. But Miss Pressy at the time, Miss Pressy said, don't fight. There's a way out. So that's why I didn't fight. I picked up the phone and said, Tarra, I just want to thank you. So, but you brought them over and you took them somewhere to go eat somewhere.
Sure.
So tell me about the Girls to Women program.
Sure. And thank you for your leadership. I think it's so important in those communities because certainly we get identified as, you mentioned before, the schools that can't do anything, the schools that are going to be D and F all the time.
Right.
So having you there and the way that you were able to elevate the school, you've made the difference in generations just by your presence.
Well,
so I want to say thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank the good Lord, like you said, a lot of fasting and praying. You know, we believe in prayer.
Yes, and allowing God to use you to bless those children. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what's happened with me. Mm-hmm. So I told you I am from Riviera Beach by way of the muck. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do the muck is Belle Glade.
Okay,
it's Belle Glade, it's Pahokee.
Don't know that.
You know, there are those cities in the Glades.
Sure.
So I actually have a tour coming up in Belle Glade.
Okay,
but it's a business related. And I'm really excited because I really haven't, while I go and visit Belle Glade, and I think it's important for people to understand how resourceful or how much business happens in Belle Glade. I mean, you can't go to a shelf anywhere in the world without seeing a product on the shelf that's sugar or something that was produced right there in Belle Glade.
It's true.
And a lot of people grow up in Belle Glade, and though they work in the fields, or they may work at the mill, they don't really understand the impact that Belle Glade has. All right, but let me get back to Girls to Women. Yeah. It's one of the things that I absolutely love. And for decades, I committed myself to trying to make a difference, particularly with young girls. Growing up in Riviera Beach and Belle Glade was different. But I had a mother that believed in exposure. And so I was probably 12, 13 at John F. Kennedy Middle School in Riviera Beach. There's an opportunity for a group of us to go to Europe. I'd never been on a plane before. It was really exciting, but it really gave me a global perspective. It kind of changed the way I viewed the world, where I lived, the respect that I gained even more for what my mother was trying to create for our family. So going to Tuskegee University and seeing all the African-American genius that was represented there was also inspiring. Wow, I didn't know this existed. Especially like, one of those days on the app and Alphas are stepping and others. I'll just mention that one because I know it's special to both of us. Yeah. But really exciting, right? So I've had a chance to have all this amazing experience and exposure. It has really shaped who I am today. So I had an opportunity to create this program with a group of other ladies to found this program. And Pahokee was where we started initially.
Yes.
And it was amazing. So my thought was, if I could show these girls possibilities, be an example to them, and I think that we can get some results. And we did. These girls, we have girls that have gone on to Harvard and studied medicine. Entrepreneurs right here in this city that you're very familiar with, Anne-Marie Sorrell, one of the first people and first young ladies in the program. So we've made a huge impact. We have operated in multiple schools in Palm Beach County. And it was certainly a pleasure to work with you at Roosevelt. But primarily what the program was designed to do is provide exposure. Show these girls something that they don't see every day. Take them to restaurants. I remember one of the girls saying, wow, We've never been to a restaurant where they use real silverware or have a tablecloth. Yeah. So that was exciting for them. Today, I'm sure that this person frequents those type of restaurants and probably has multiple business meetings in those type restaurants. But it was the exposure, taking them to the Kravis Center for Performing Arts, seeing the Nutcracker or whatever performance there was at the time, where maybe they've never seen that. And maybe they would consider a career in the arts, or even putting them on a plane for the first time. I remember when we were getting those girls ready to go from Belgrade and taking them to Atlanta, and the parents saying to those kids, wow, you're getting on a plane even before I had an opportunity to do it. And that was very important. And that really impacted me. So being able to take those girls on college tours, and then also bring in people from the community that they live in Palm Beach County, to speak to them about their experiences growing up, letting them know that what you see today is not what I was when I was your age, but it was about hard work, sacrifice, a commitment to excellence, pursuing education. So I believe that education is a great equalizer. If we can get these girls to go to college, that changes the entire trajectory of their life and generations that will follow them.
So the metrics that are important. Do you track them to see how many that came into your program that go to college?
I can't say that we necessarily track them. That probably was one of the things. That was not my, wheelhouse at the time. Yeah. And so that would be something that we would probably do today. Yeah. But back then when we started the program, that must have been, in the early 2000s. Or even maybe
early
before.
2000s. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it was, it would have been great to track them. We know some of them personally. We're still in touch with a lot of the girls. And occasionally I'm somewhere and I see someone and they're like, you remember me from Girls to Women. It just delights my heart. Yeah. Even I was at an event and some young ladies, and I spoke and I mentioned Girls to Women because it's a part of my DNA. It is. I love Girls to Women. And some of the girls came over to me and they attend Pahokee High School. This happened this year. And sometimes you never know how you need that little motivation, encouragement to know that it's okay. You're challenged right now, but you know what? You did good. Right. And the girls come up to me and, Miss Tarra, we're in Girls to Women. I wanted to just cry. It was amazing. It just made me feel so good. And, now some of the girls that were in the program when they were in high school 20 years ago now are running the program.
That's
and
beautiful.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know those young ladies, they came back and they had beautiful dresses on. And I said, Miss Tarra, I forgot to get the dresses. You got to get those back. And I called you, said, no, they can have them. What? These dresses were very expensive. They're going over to Palm Beach. And you bought them dresses. And of course, they'd never seen something like Palm Beach. They didn't even know Worth Avenue. They didn't know anything like that. Sure. And we're talking about African-American young ladies. That's what we're talking about particularly. And
I'm going to tell you, this was so important back then because there was no Instagram. Now these young girls, if they choose to, have so many opportunities to see these amazing women who are doing amazing things and that they can emulate. So I don't know, there was a Cosby Show. I don't even know if that's part of their generation. It inspired me. Yeah. But it's really good that we do have social media. So social media is a good thing sometimes.
Right. So let's talk about kids and the power of work. I'm not familiar with that. But you're going to tell us right now what that is.
Kapow. Yes. So it's a program. One of the things that we do try to do in the communities where we do business, we want to give back. We want to make a difference. So Kapow is a program it is intended to just give kids options, career options. So my team would go to a middle school or high school. I think we did a middle school a couple of years, a high school a couple of years, and just speak to kids about our careers. And then we bring them into our workplace. Nice. And then I would coordinate with the airlines. Maybe they get to be some pilots and go on an aircraft and see that there are so many job opportunities that are available to them that they may not see, because in our communities, a lot of times the girls say, well, I want to do nails. I want to do hair. because that's all that they see.
Sure.
But then when they decide that they want to be an entrepreneur, the sky's the limit. And even if you want to do hair, there's so many opportunities in hair. It's interesting. I was in New York, and one of my son's friends from college works for L'Oreal. Well, she's responsible for the entire Essie line and the marketing that goes into that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, being a nail tech is one thing, but really being able to influence directly a product that's global mm-hmm. and get compensated very well, that's a flex.
No doubt.
So these girls need to know what's available. I was there at that headquarters. I'm thinking like, I need to bring some of those girls here so they can see this. This is what they need to be a part of. They like perfume. They like, makeup. So why not be a chemist for developing a formula for the makeup or for the nail polish?
So I think that's very powerful, really, because getting our children away from, it's nothing wrong with it if you excel in it. And you mentioned the three tangibles, but music, athletics, the world's a lot bigger. Bruce McDonald used to say the world's a lot larger than Palm Beach County.
Absolutely.
And so to get into, like I said, to be a chemist, I know when I was up there fooling around with the Commodores, they said, Darryl Page said, I play the keyboards. Mm-hmm. You got to get behind into the mixing board. I said, but that's off the stage. But there's so much more to it than that, Right. And so for you to offer them that, I think it's a really big deal. Well, in closing, what do you have to say to those who are looking up to you? Those young ladies right now, 13 years old, just looking at the TV camera and the TV, and they're saying, what words could you say that's foundational for them?
I think it's very important to understand that where you start is not where you should finish. And there's a whole lot in between that, right? Mm-hmm. My mom started out as a farm labor worker, and now she is in the muck. Yeah, what is it? Her soil is her gold, I think is the tagline. Right. Mm-hmm. But so there's a whole lot in between that. My mom is 81 years old today. So I think progress is so important. And our young people have to understand it doesn't happen overnight, but you have to be committed to what you want, the family that you want. And there are so many amazing opportunities out there. I think education has to be your foundation. That's very, very important. We have to pursue education, and we can't get caught up in what everybody else is doing. There weren't a lot of girls in my community who went to college on my street in Riviera Beach. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not around today, and they died pretty young. So I had to be in the house before the street lights came on, and everybody knew it. So when the street lights came on, if I was outside, my friends were like, well, you better get inside. You better get inside. And I thought it was funny, a little embarrassing at the same time. But if everybody's out in the streets and everybody is partying and everybody's doing everything else, there are consequences to that type lifestyle.
Sure.
But if everybody is pursuing programs that may be offered to them, like girls swimming in their school, or if everybody's trying to take advantage of a scholarship that's available, if everybody's trying to use social media for progress, because there's so many amazing podcasts out there. This is my first. Yeah. But Emma Grede has an amazing podcast. And people may not know who she is, but she's responsible for most of the wealth that the Kardashians have today. And she's an African-American entrepreneur who is not from the U.S., but having a global lens is so important because it's been done before, maybe not in the United States, maybe not in your city, but that's why exposure is so important. Getting out, reading, seeing what's happening. I was out in California a couple of weeks ago. We were working on a project there. And I see these little robots in the streets delivering food and packages. And I say to my friend, what is that? And she says, oh, yeah, you guys don't have those? Well, I'm thinking that may be something I need to investigate. But I think exposure is the key. Do not allow anyone to put limitations on you based on where you are today.
And who you are.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, and right now, unfortunately in this country, being an African American is not like a wonderful thing for most people, but it's wonderful for me because we have an outstanding culture. We have an amazing legacy.
Sure.
African Americans are responsible for where this country is today. And right now, there's so many amazing African leaders that our young people can emulate and just read about their stories. They're amazing. You're going to find that there are a lot of them that have come from single parent households, come from low income communities, may have been the first to go to college, but that's their story. It doesn't end there. They continue. Their generations go to college. I tell you, I even mentioned like my husband and I are first generation college graduates. Our kids attend, Morehouse College. We're an HBCU family. And, my son was studied at Harvard. Can you imagine that? The pride that my mother feels in just her sacrifice so that they can do what they do today. And even my husband's father being in the Navy, being a submarine for months at a time, the sacrifice. So honoring the sacrifice and just showing up, being there, being excited and having the faith and trust and knowing that God has a perfect plan for all of our lives.
That's just beautiful. Kapow! That's the name of her next book. So make sure you be able to read that. With Tarra Moten, I'm so happy that you were able to come. I was absolutely mesmerized by it. And here's why. Because I knew you as a little girl. I knew you as a young lady, And so just to watch you bloom as you have become, to me, it's just overwhelming.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I do.
It's been fun having you on. And again, next time, please tune in to us when we'll have our next guest. This is going to be a surprise, but I think it's going to be wonderful. But we're going to try to make sure that we show everyone, the world, about what's, as Miss Moten said, what's out there. It's just waiting on you. Just stand up and deliver. And remember, God is always in control.
Amen.